G'day everybody, welcome to a very special episode of Geocaching Down Under. I have a very special guest with me here tonight. His caching name is Carragher, real name is Rickard. He's all the way from Sweden, living here now in Australia. And I believe he has some amazing stories from around the world and some brilliant hides. So we're going to find a little bit more out about Rickard. So first and foremost, welcome to the podcast, Rickard. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much for doing this.
No, you are welcome. So let's just start off nice and easy for you with some introductory questions. First off, your caching name is Karicka. How did you come up with that caching name?
It's a bit of a jumble of my name.
Okay.
And just to find something that sounded good in Swedish maybe at the time.
Okay, great. Well, I was going to ask you that. As you are Swedish, is it a Swedish word?
No, it's not a word at all. It's just a name jumble, really.
Oh, I like it. That's good. That's good fun. So you just mentioned there you're from Sweden, born and raised, and then moved out to Australia?
I was actually born in Australia.
Okay.
But my parents migrated back when I was very young and came out here about 9 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's great. All right. Well, just to give us a bit of a sense, how many finds have you had in total? Do you know your stats?
So I recently did my 30,000 cache, for which I picked the first earth cache in the world. So flew down to Sydney and went down to Wasp's Head for that earth cache for the milestone.
Yes.
Yeah. And my first find was back in April 2005.
2005. My goodness.
2005.
Wow, that's fantastic. So what's that? Nearly 20 years.
Yeah, that's coming in on that. Yeah.
Yes. Wow. Okay. So you were here in Australia when you started caching?
No, that was a Swedish find. My first Australian find, I think, would have been around 2010.
Right. Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So, and how many hides do you have? Do you know?
I've been adopting out the hides, but I've been hidden somewhere around 150 caches.
Oh, wow.
Including events.
Yes. Okay. That's good. So how did you get into geocaching then? How did you find out?
Back in 2005, smartphones weren't a thing. So it was actually an article in an outdoor magazine.
Okay.
About a couple who was doing geocaching. So, and I thought this sounds interesting, bit of technology, bit of adventure, getting out there, seeing new places. So I went and I ordered a GPS and started finding a couple of caches. And when I hit my first cache, the first finders were the people in the magazine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's quite a story, that is. Oh, okay. So, just took it off your own bat and decided to go out, have an adventure, see what it was.
Exactly. And sort of back in the day, you would print out your caches on paper, add a folder in the car with printouts divided by sectors around home, and enter the coordinates manually in the GPS.
Yes.
The GPS had no map, so you had to read up on a real map. And if you hadn't...
You are talking my language. That's exactly what I did in the beginning.
Yep. If you hadn't, you arrived at a river and had to turn around when you're 500 meters away from the cache.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that, printing out the pieces of paper, putting it into the GPS.
Yep. Oh, and a good day was 10 finds. And and even if you're urban, 100K drive.
Yes, that's right. That is right. Yeah.
So the caches were few, and some of them were good quality, some of them were poor quality. That hasn't really changed much, I think.
No, I don't think it has. So what was it about geocaching that sort of captured you and kept you doing it?
I was always a lover of nature and history. And when you're caching in Europe, you're sort of caching between the nature experience and the experience in a bit of history, and also the urban exploration aspect of caching. Something that I really liked.
Yeah.
That you had sort of way of passing places on without getting too public.
Yes.
you could always hide it in the puzzle, and you could get to this fantastic urban exploration place.
That's right, yeah, and like you say with history, like, you can learn, a bit about places as well, and especially being in Europe, they've got a bit of history, so it'd be
Except,
very
yeah.
interesting. Mm, no, that's
So,
good.
so I think it's just sort of really ticked a lot of boxes for my interests.
Oh, that's great, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, that's the thing is you sorta it starts out as one thing and it sort of fulfills a lot of
yeah.
other things in life, doesn't it? Yeah, that's good. Um, and over the course of your 20 years of geocaching, I imagine it has, but have you influenced any muggles into geocaching?
I'm sort of usually quite. I don't talk much about what I do, really.
Mhm,
Uh, I think I have gotten a few friends into it
mhm.
in sort of ways, sort of surprising ways, maybe. That let's stop for one cache here, and we don't make a big fuss about it, and then it turns out that they've started themselves.
Ah,
Mhm. But I think maybe more important is sort of the way that you work together with other caches on your caching journey. That
yes.
you get to know people, and you always have the geocaching together.
Mhm.
You might not be a good fit in other matters, but when you're driving to the cache, when you walk into the cache, when you find any cache, you have that together,
Yes.
and that's a good bond, and you can use that as a way to reach out to people that you feel that
Would
he or
enjoy that
she,
adventure. Mm.
yeah, and also he or she maybe needs uh, you know company today, and if we make the geocaching as an excuse for actually just being together and spending time together, nobody feels that you sort of taking pity on them or feeling that they're knowing that they're in a bad way.
Mm.
You can just offer a geocaching trip.
Yeah, you're just
Yeah,
having an adventure and a good time together,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
right.
Look. Here's the cache none of us have found, and it looks like a good one that we both like.
Yes. Yeah, would you come with me? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I
Yeah.
think that's also a very powerful thing that you can do.
Absolutely. That's right, yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah, no,
so,
that is right because, especially recently with, the lockdowns and the pandemic, it's made it really prevalent that, you know, that human contact is really important. So having
yep,
that person that you can say, "Come on, there's a geocache we haven't found, let's go." Even if we're just out for a couple hours, let's just get out of the house.
yep, and just or just that invite for the first to find race. Let's go
Yes.
together. Yeah,
Yep. Yeah. No, that's good.
and even if you spend 30 minutes together, that might be really good for both of you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, mental health. I mean, that's geocaching fulfills so many different parts of our lives, doesn't it? Getting out in nature, fresh air, sunshine, mental health, meeting people, social.
Exercise you can throw in there as well.
Yeah.
Skills, problem
Depending on
solving.
yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
There's so
that's
many
right.
things that you pick up along the way or that you improve on.
That's right, yeah.
Mm.
So you really love the nature side, the history side, and the social side, is that right?
Yes, and what I miss in Australia is the urban exploration side.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yep.
Which part of Australia are you in?
I'm in Queensland,
You're in
southeast
Queensland?
Queensland. Yep.
Okay, so you've got Brisbane, but,
Yeah.
probably not quite the same as a European city.
We don't have any abandoned castles in Brisbane.
Not real ones.
No, no, and not even fake ones that you can
Not
go
even
into.
fake ones, that's
No,
right.
we don't have any underground secret factories from the war that you can go into in geocaching side.
No, that's right, I see
Yeah.
those online and I think, "Oh, wow, that's fascinating." Yeah, we just don't have that type of cache here, do we?
No.
No.
That's sort of something that I maybe miss
Yeah,
here. Yeah.
yeah, that variety.
And yeah, and the challenge.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Have you found, obviously urban and, those sorts of hides, you don't get that so much here. What have you noticed the difference between caching overseas in Europe and caching here?
Oh, that's the hard one.
It is a
It's
hard question,
because
isn't
a lot of it's very similar,
it? Mhm.
but of course it all really depends on what you like and what
True.
cases what cases you focus on.
Mm-hmm.
You might do a day trip for one or two cases, but then you pick up a number of hides on the way, and
Yes.
they're both all pretty similar, I'd say.
That's right.
So
Do you find you travel further in Australia for caches than you would in Europe?
I'd say it depends on where you live, really.
Yeah.
When I first came to Australia, I moved to Townsville.
Mm-hmm.
And after 4 years in Townsville, my nearest unfound cache, as the crow flies, was 239 kilometers.
Yes.
And the drive would have been 5 hours one
Yes.
way. Never found that one.
Not surprising. It's a
No.
full day trek, isn't it?
Yeah. I was back there and actually looked at that cache, or the island where the cache on, just a few weeks ago. So I know still there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But Townsville has been blessed with many more caches since. So
Yes.
yeah.
And that's the thing. As time has progressed, there's more caches on the map
Yeah.
to find as
Yeah.
well. So that's helped. Have you done a find streak?
I did during COVID. We were lucky and blessed for being able to move around for exercise. And I had
Mm-hmm.
enough caches that I could do a walk in a different forest every day.
Okay.
So during COVID, I managed to do my 366 and then some more days, and then I got tired of it.
Okay.
But I
Yes.
think as it was the lockdown, it was the sort of the daily thing to go for a little bike ride or go for that kilometers that we could drive to find that patch of bushland and find one cache.
Yes. Yeah.
And it was a very good thing to have something to look forward to at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was the same. Yeah. Just get out, go for the walk, see some trees, see some blue sky.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And,
So
and
in
having
terms,
yeah,
yeah. Sorry.
no, you go.
I was just going to say, like, in terms of all the places you cache, have you come across some really memorable caches, and what's made them memorable for you?
Oh, that is such a. I could talk about that for a long time. Uh, for I think it was my 5,000 cache.
Mm-hmm.
I teamed up with a good mate, and we went to this underground gunpowder factory
Mm-hmm.
left after World War II,
Mm-hmm.
where all the equipment was still in place underground. All the paperwork was still in place,
Oh wow.
payroll, everything. And you had, of course, to get in there at night. So there was a bit of a puzzle dimension to it. It was
Right.
you can only get in at night. And then this huge cavern underground where you need to find your numbers.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
What country was this in?
This is Sweden.
It was in Sweden. Okay.
It was in Sweden. And for another milestone, we'll move on to another one, which was in Germany, Eastern Germany.
Mm-hmm.
This chimney, a 60-meter chimney, or maybe even bit taller,
Yes.
abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
And crampons on one side of the chimney says you can climb up easily. But then the cache was 10 meters down on the other side, outside the chimney.
And you did that one.
And those are the things that I sort of like, where you really got to challenge yourself. You are scared,
Yes.
but you get down and you sign the log.
That's right.
Mm.
Yes.
So it might be a couple that have been really memorable, but
Yeah.
many Australian caches are memorable as well.
Okay.
You know, ones where you come across wildlife, always good.
Yes.
Those where you just have that snake who's just sleeping on top of the container.
That's you leave it, go get lunch, and come back and try again later.
Or it's a python and you just
Oh, okay.
gently ask him to move along.
Yes, that's it.
Yep.
Encourage him to move.
Yep.
That's it.
No, so it's a long list, I think.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
high up there are the high terrain caches.
Yes. Are they a favorite of yours, high terrain?
Absolutely. It's always been climbing, and if I can get into a cave or an abandoned mine, I've done it. Oh, there's another one we can talk about for a while. They had an abandoned mine where where you rappelled free down for about 40 meters into a hole,
Right.
no contact with the wall. Get down
Fantastic.
to one level in the mine, and then find a way to the next level down, 15 meters down more.
Oh my goodness.
Walk
Yes.
along an old drift to find the cache.
That is adventurous.
And we was only two of us there, so we called a friend and said, "We're going down here now. If we haven't called you back in 4 hours, come and look for us."
Please.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. That's right.
No, so those are the things that really, really sort of stay with me.
Yes. Yeah. It's always good to let someone know where you're going too, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. But you know that if you're going down a mine, most likely you'll come up again. As long as
Yes.
as long as you know what you're doing with your equipment.
Well, I was going to say yes, as long as you've got the right equipment and you know what you're doing.
But you don't. You of course, when everybody's down there, you don't know what's happening on the surface. So it's good to
I
have somebody who has the gear to come and look for you.
That's right. Yeah, no good if they're just going to stand at the top of the mine and shout at you.
No, it won't do much for you.
It's not going to help very much. Oh, wow. All right. Well, that sounds fascinating. I know we've got one down, I think it's Ballarat, and it's like a water tunnel. And you got to walk. I think it's a couple of 100 meters through the water tunnel.
Yep.
And that's been quite an experience.
No, I've done them. I've
Yes.
done more than a kilometer in January in a tunnel in Sweden where the water was flowing quickly,
Oh,
and it
really?
would have been -5 outside.
Wow.
And that was just one step, and then it was rappelling and tree climbing and things as well on that multi.
My goodness. So, like, lots of adventure.
Another good one was an abandoned oil storage where you would store oil in chambers in rock,
Okay.
but abandoned, so it was filled with water.
Right.
And all these rooms with pillars in between them, and somewhere in there was a cache. And
Did
there
that
was a
one
boat.
require actual diving gear or
No, it was a boat in there.
a boat?
So you
Okay.
walked. You walked in. You found a way through the fence,
Mhm.
and you got into the storage, and you paddled around until you find the cache inside a mountain on a lake.
That's fantastic.
Mm.
Wowee.
Yeah. Now, so there's many of them where you crawl through sealed creeks, and yeah,
That's fantastic. My goodness.
which again I miss here.
Yeah.
But again, there are many other components anyway that sort of keep me happy.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, different challenges, different
Yeah,
places, different things. Yeah.
yeah, leeches and snakes and
Snakes and spiders.
yeah.
They keep you on your toes. That's great. Have you got into the tree fishing? Like you do the tree climbing, do you do tree fishing?
Yes. I was doing tree fishing. I think that's sort of. I think it came out of Germany. I found a few German series of tree fishing in Sweden back in would have been 17 maybe.
Okay.
So when it appeared here, I wasn't really surprised.
Yeah.
I'd prefer to climb the tree.
Yes. It sounds
That'll be more my style.
loyal style. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
So I'd prefer to hide a cache that looks like it could be climbed, but it would have to be. Sorry, it would look that it has to be fished, but it actually
Yeah.
has to be climbed.
Right. Okay then. All right.
And that maybe tells something about my hiding style. That I prefer caches that I don't need to maintain too much.
Yes.
I'd rather get a few logs
Yeah.
from people that are dedicated, and I shouldn't say dedicated because everybody's dedicated in their own way, but
Yes.
like the same things that I do.
Yes.
Yeah, and challenge those people to go out and hide caches that I like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, you
so
might inspire someone.
so a lot of my hides are high terrain and maybe an average fossil in behind to make
Mhm.
sure that you don't end up at the bottom of the tree and disappointed because you can't find the cache.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. It's got to be
So
still interesting and
yeah, and also just having not wanting to disappoint people with the traditional,
Mm.
because I think that if you don't read your DT ratings, you might be disappointed, and I don't want to be disappointed, and I don't want to disappoint anybody else.
No, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Well, I mean, it just comes back to you have to read the cache page properly too, don't you? You know.
But I don't always do that.
No,
So, and
sometimes, yeah, you're just driving past a cache and you think, "Quick, let's stop here and get it," and then you realize, "Oh, I need climbing gear or I need a specialized tot or something like that."
exactly. But at least if it's a puzzle, you at least you know that you have some prep work and you need to look at the page.
That's right. Yes.
So
Yeah.
so that's maybe why I try to hide like that.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point actually, is to hide caches that you would like to find, I think is a good
Yeah.
inspiration. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you just mentioned Germany there, and I know they've got quite a few really good quality gadget caches and adventures and really adventurous geocaches. Have you found any gadget caches or amazing ones in Germany?
I think the one that stands out in Germany, there's a couple. There's
Mhm.
one which I think before it got archived, racked up close to 12,000 favorite points,
Okay.
and it's a Lego sculpture in Berlin,
Ah,
a giraffe that has one piece
yes,
added, and inside that piece is a log.
is the log in one
Yeah,
piece of Lego. Yeah.
and when I got there, I think there was another couple looking, but they were a bit sort of shy. And then I got there, and then at the end, I think there was 10 of us pulling pieces of this giraffe trying to find the log.
Many hands make light work.
Yeah, and it's just outside a cafe.
Oh, okay, so you've got
Yeah,
people watching you as well, that's
yeah.
fantastic.
But when there's 10 of you, it doesn't matter anymore, does it?
No, that's right. You look
Because it
like
must be a
you're
thing. Yeah. And another favorite in Germany was it looked like a monument
Mhm.
made out of stainless steel with a world
Okay.
map on it.
Yeah,
And there was a locked box at the bottom that had no function.
right.
So it looked like a little box that you'd have a cache inside. But you had to turn the monument like a
Oh.
dial, and the cache opened up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And to cut that out of thick stainless steel and assemble it and move it into place, and
I
yeah,
have to say, as the finder, I would be really worried to start manipulating a statue or a monument to find
uh,
some.
yeah. But you get there, and then you start to read the logs, and
Right.
yeah,
Gives you a bit of a hint, yeah.
exactly what you need to do. No, but I looked at a few places before I understood that I needed to turn that monument.
Ah, okay. Yes. See, once again, read the cache page, read the logs before you get there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I like the surprise. I like to arrive slightly unprepared and be surprised and be happy about that.
Well, that's right. Yeah, it makes it a whole adventure too because, you're working it out on the way while you're there.
Yeah,
You're like, "Oh,
yeah,
what is this? Why isn't it working? I can't even find a place to start. Let me go read this."
exactly. And
Mm,
you have a good think about it while you're doing it.
that's right, yeah.
Yeah,
Getting
because
little grey matter going.
yeah, exactly. Mm.
That's good. Um, yes, so I know you're in Southeast Queensland, and apparently you've got a really good little group of geocaches that, you've had some adventures with in, Southeast Queensland.
I think it's a quite of a loose group of people that
Mhm.
meet for different activities. If it's kayaking or bushwalking or road tripping,
Yes.
and there's that's great to have that sort of loose network that different people come with different experiences at different times, and
That's
that
right.
you're not too fixed on exactly who you cache with, but you depend on who's available and who hasn't found that cache.
That's right, yeah.
So
That's
I think
right.
that's and that's the good thing about the game. That you do this, as I said before, you do the caching together,
Mm,
and that's what matters. And then you can, while driving there, you can have a good conversation at the same time about everything else.
yes. Yep.
And as a man, you don't need to look anybody in the eye. You look straight through the windscreen, and you can talk about serious stuff.
Absolutely, that is the best way to get a man to talk about serious stuff is to do
Y-
an activity.
Yep. Yeah, and you don't need to do it on the path. You do it in the car on the way there.
That's right, yeah, and it's nice and private, and no
Yeah,
one's
and
watching.
nobody was really watching you. So
No one's
that's
watching.
also very good about having this community, that you get to sort of make other connections as well.
Well, that's right, yeah, and then you find other points of connection in your life that you've got similarities,
Yeah.
and yeah, the friendships grow from there. So, have you, have you been to some awesome megas around the world and continually meeting people and seeing each other at different events?
I have made a lot of friends to geocaching all over the world.
Mm,
So for a while, I spent a lot of time in China
mhm,
and made some good geocaching friends in China, mostly Westerners that I was still, and some of them I'm still in contact with.
right, okay then.
And living in Germany, in Canada, and actually in Queensland.
Right. So I presume work took you to these places?
Work took me to those places, but when you work that much in a place that you spend the weekends, you go to
Mm,
geocaching events.
mhm,
Yeah,
yeah.
or you organize a geocaching event, and yeah, and,
It's a
and met
great
some
way
re-
to meet people.
and met some really good friends that way. And I often find that for me, it's a small event is where I can make more
Well, that's
connections.
right. Yes. Yeah,
So
you've got
I
time
have
to actually talk to people there.
yeah, and I also find that if you go to a mega, you talk mostly to the people you know, and then maybe one or two new people.
Yes. That's
But I
very
mean,
true.
in the long run, the people that you're going to cache with are the people that live close to you.
Mm. Yes, well, it's just handy, it's just
Yeah,
convenient, isn't it? Mm.
but of course, it's great to have a contact who can help you with this puzzle in WA.
Yes.
Yeah, or on the other side of the country if it's the other way around for you.
Yes, that's right.
And I went to the first Giga in Munich,
Okay.
which was a good adventure, but a bit more like a market than a geocaching event, really.
Right, okay. Well, I mean, it was the first
Yeah,
first one, wasn't it?
yeah, and 5,000 people, and of
That's a lot.
course we were in a bit of a rush as well. We needed to get driving home again. We had a long drive home, so
Right, okay. Yeah.
maybe didn't get to experience it in full.
And have you enjoyed the difference? I know that particularly in America, they have a 1 day mega, whereas in Australia we tend to make it a full weekend and
Mm.
stretch it out over, 2, 3
Yep,
days. Have
yep,
you enjoyed that difference where you can actually be at an event for an extended period of time?
absolutely. And I think they can complement each other.
Absolutely.
So a Swedish mega is like an American mega. The
Okay.
most popular mega in Sweden is a one, really, just one evening in the dark autumn
Okay.
with sort of night caching and that's sort of the main mega
Right.
over there.
Yeah.
But to be able to go and camp for a number of days, it's great,
Mm,
and to have that
that
uh,
time to get to talk to people and spend time with
exactly,
people.
and sort of come back and talk again, and yeah, that is really good.
Well, yeah, I think we've been spoiled in Australia because that's what we know and that's sort of what we expect from, large events. And it gives
Yep,
you time to go and do geocaching, come back, have the social, talk to people, compare notes, and then, you can go and attack another geocache that you couldn't find or were having trouble with. Like
absolutely.
you've got time to do both
Yeah,
or do many things.
yeah, and you talk to somebody new over dinner, and you get some new ideas, which is really good.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I think we've been spoilt in Australia with that. I
Yeah,
think
and
that's a really good difference for us.
I definitely agree, and I have been to megas in New Zealand that are organized the same way.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah,
where you spend a lot of time together, and you have activities and seminars and all of this,
that's right. Yeah.
and plenty of time to cash in between.
Yes. Yeah, I believe, yeah, Europe and America, you go there and you stay on site where the mega is, usually in a hall or, some sort of building. And, the shopping is there, the seminar is there, the activity is there, and you don't generally go out too
Uh,
much.
yeah, in Sweden, it would typically involve sort of a couple of trails with lab caches outside.
Mhm.
So you do a bit of caching, but often just labs outside.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes, you're not going too far from the venue.
No,
Mm, mm.
just walking distance preferably.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah, no, I really like the way we do events and got time to catch up with people over dinner. And we have the trivia nights and things like that. It really gives you an opportunity to get to meet people.
Exactly. It's yeah, to mingle a bit longer.
Mm. Well, do you feel in at the events overseas? Do you feel like they're a bit rushed?
No, I think I had, of course, the guidelines have changed. So what you can do on events has changed.
Mm.
For many years, we used to have events where you would meet up in the morning for a bit of a market stall and a coffee, and then there would be a cache release. So everybody would go out and cache for a while, and then
Right.
you would meet up for dinner again.
Okay.
And that sort of was a one-day event, a full day, and you got a lot out of it.
Right. Okay. So,
So,
yeah, structured a little bit differently, but still
yeah,
given the opportunity to spend time with people.
but of course the guidelines has changed, and we're not allowed to publish cases for events anymore, unfortunately.
That's
But
right. And then you've
I,
also got event stacking that you can't do.
yeah, and I mean that's good and bad. There's two
Mm.
sides to that, and yeah,
Yeah. 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 That's right. Um, that's what I wanted to ask you.
yeah.
So, in terms of a tot for geocaching, is there one tot that you would recommend people have to have in their gear, or a couple of things that the people need to have?
I'm I tend to lose my pen all the time,
Yes,
so plenty of extra pens,
lots of pens.
and then a pencil for that wet log, for that
Oh,
writing rain log that you can't write on.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I usually travel with a ladder,
Mhm.
fishing pole. The ropes they only come out in the car if I know there's
Yep.
climbing to be had.
They're quite
Uh, I find a pair of pliers are good for those bisons that are stuck together.
Yes, that's a good one.
Yeah, or two pairs of pliers even to gently open them up,
Yep.
and spare logbooks.
Yeah.
I get a tradies notebook,
Mhm.
waterproof,
Mhm.
write in rain,
Yes.
and I get out a sewing machine and sew them together
Oh,
with
okay.
polyester, so they're not stapled, so there's no staples that rust,
Yes, that's a good one.
and to keep those, and just in the back of your phone,
Yeah.
a few of them, so you can drop in a new log
Yes.
and make sure the cache survives.
Replace a log.
Yeah,
That's
or just add to a log because
okay.
it's waterproof. It'll last. It'll
Yeah.
last for a very long time. So, and that's uh, of course I have collected a lot of geocaching tools of the trade over time.
That's right.
So there's a tinny, there's a kayak, there's an even smaller little plastic dinghy.
Really?
There's a wetsuit for swimming to some caches.
My goodness.
Waders, chest high waders for wading out to caches.
Mhm.
Uh, and then of course climbing gear, and I've done some amazing caching on skis and ice skates in Sweden.
Oh, really?
That's not really for here, but that is fantastic.
Yeah. So you've actually
Mm.
got on skis and skied to gone cross country to a
Cross
cache.
country skiing, yeah.
Wow. How long was that journey?
Oh, a few kilometers,
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah. And of course, the bike is great.
Mm.
And being able to keep the bike inside the car, it leaves. I used to have a small foldable. Now I've been able to get a larger bike on the tray.
Yes.
When you get to this place, and there's a trail locations on a bike path,
Mhm.
take the bike.
Yes.
Do something different than walking.
That's right.
You can walk 500 meters, but if you don't do 5 kilometers,
Yeah, that's right.
so that little if you got only room for a foldable bike is great.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we've got a bike trail here that used to be a train line, and they've
Yep.
converted it into a walking bike track. And there's a series of caches along it. And I think the bike trail is 20 kilometers long. So you really wouldn't walk it and then walk back.
No,
So,
no, we have a good one out here at Esquay in southeast Queensland, and then
hmm
there's a brand new one that starts in Murwillumbah in New South Wales.
Yes,
with plenty of lab caches along and a few
that's right.
traditionals as well.
Yeah, they've just opened that train line,
Yeah,
that walking track on the old
yeah.
train line.
So we did that a couple of
Mm,
months ago, and it was a really good day out
mm.
on a really good trail. I'd really recommend to do that trail.
Okay, that's good.
And we went from Murulumba south and back again, and there are pubs to stop at and cafes to stop at, and so you don't need to feel that you need to ride all day.
No,
You can just stop where you like and enjoy.
that's it. Yeah, it's not a
Yeah.
marathon.
No.
Do it in stages. That's
Yeah.
good. That's good. Now, I know you have a bit of a message for people as well. Um, did you want to fill us in on your situation, like with the sun care element and all of that?
I'll definitely do this. If you look at my face, it's really droopy, and it all comes from a skin cancer that I caught a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
And it would have been a spot that would have grown on me for a very long time, given
Mm.
where it was. And where I am now, I really hope to complete my 40th loop.
Right.
That's a target that I set myself for.
Hmm.
And I believe I can do that with some help from good friends.
Absolutely.
But I don't have much time left.
Right.
I
Okay.
have a cancer, a very aggressive cancer.
Right. Okay.
So, of course, the advice would be when you're out there, wear your hat, wear your long sleeves, wear your pants,
Mm.
do your skin checks,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
apply that sunscreen. Wear
Mm.
your sunglasses. That's and if anybody can do that, that would be great. And also, of course, what I'm doing right now, live your best life.
Yes.
Don't put up, don't make a bucket list that you never start working on. Get
Mm.
started on your bucket list now, because
Yeah.
none of us know what's going to happen tomorrow.
No, that's right.
So get out there and enjoy. If it's geocaching or whatever it is, but just make sure you don't wait. Don't you think that you'll do that trip when I retire? Just do it next year. Or do it this
Yes.
year.
We quite often do that, don't we? We think, "Oh, we'll do that when we retire, when we've got time," and then life happens and you don't get to it, so
Exactly. And you'll always keep the memories.
Mm.
And you'll only regret the things that you didn't do.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Absolutely. So how close are you to your 40th loop?
3 or 4 caches.
Oh, wow.
So I actually did a loop today.
Oh, there you go. As you do on a casual Sunday?
Yeah, exactly. You start with an event, and then you get somebody to drive you around for a bit, and you get to go to do a loop.
Yes.
Mm.
So have you done, the most number of caches in a day? Have you done the different types of caches in one day? Have you done that challenge?
So I think during one mega, I think I might have gotten up to 11 or 12.
Yes.
And I think my best record was for a challenge that required 1,000 stars in a day. So 1,000 DT points in a day,
Wow.
which ends up being around 300 caches. So that's not too bad.
Wow, that is a big day.
Yeah, but it wasn't so bad. With tired
Okay.
legs at the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bit of an early start.
Yeah. And again, I sort of, even if I really enjoy the high terrain caches, I also see that's a challenge. It's
Mm.
maybe a bit of a more of a mental challenge to persist with the
Yes.
boredom. It's like, I'll drive 50 caches and you find 50 caches, then we'll swap drivers and
Yes.
yeah,
That's
and then we do
exactly
50 more.
Mm.
So, and that's maybe that I'm very stubborn and sort of can do those things.
Well, it's a good point because I've done a couple of power trails, and by the time you hit the 30th one, after driving 132 meters and
Yeah,
stopping and then going again, after like the 30th one, you're like, okay, this is a bit tedious.
yeah. But afterwards, it feels like an achievement.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Then you look back at your numbers, you think, wow,
yeah,
I've found 100 caches today. That's
yeah. And it's sort of the same. If you paddle across the lake, it's not really fun to paddle across the lake. It's just a
no,
bit of achievement. But when you get
yes,
to the shore and you get close to the nature, it's better again.
absolutely, yeah,
So sort of how you create your memories, I think.
yes, yes. Okay, I think actually. So, in all your time caching, have you gotten into collecting geocoins and travel bugs? And do you enjoy that element of it?
No, I want the experience.
Mm-hmm.
That's my main thing. I like the place and
Mm,
sort of that's how we touched on many times with people.
yeah.
And then at times, if I walked up a long walk, I might even be not be motivated to look for the container
Okay.
because I had my experience.
Yeah.
But of course, I'll need to find that container to document that I had it.
Yeah. And remember that.
And but I don't. I'll rescue a travel bug if I can see that it's been in the container for months.
Right.
Otherwise, I have to leave it for somebody else
Okay. Okay. So
because
not
I'm sort of
not a driving factor for you.
no. It's I'd say I usually don't like shiny things.
Okay.
There are other things that are more important for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, uh, Something else we could mention a little bit is the technology change.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I started, as I said, when I started caching, yeah, there was a handheld GPS,
Mm-hmm.
and you more or less entered the coordinates manually for every single cache
Mm.
without the map, unless you paid big money for a map GPS. But they
Yes.
were rare and expensive.
Very.
So there was paper caching, and you had your phone,
Mm-hmm.
which was a stupid brick phone. So you could only call people with it.
Yes.
Couldn't do anything else. And then you
Not
had the
these smartphones like today.
no digital camera
Mm-hmm.
and the GPS and the car
Yes.
case and then the
Yes.
pen. So the
Yes.
chance of leaving one of those things in the case was rather large.
Pretty high. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that you came back without your camera or your phone or
Oh, or your sunnies. You'd leave
yeah,
your sunnies there. Yes.
some of those things were often at the case and you had to walk back again.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And then you had
And
to go home and log it on the computer.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, and and if you hadn't printed out the logs who logged it or who knew how to log it, you couldn't path. On the other
Yes.
hand, mobile phone signal was so sketchy, so it didn't really matter much anyway.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
And a number of years later, I found this through one of the forums that you could actually download a pocket query onto a
Ah,
Palm Pilot. There was an
yes.
electronic organizer called Palm Pilot. So then you had your GPS, your Palm Pilot, your phone, and your camera, and your pen, and your car keys to lose.
Very true.
But at least you didn't have to carry around a folder of paper anymore
Yes.
because
Yeah.
you had
You
an
can have
electronic.
the digital version. That's it. Yeah.
And of course, then when the smartphones came, it just revolutionized the whole game.
It made it much quicker, didn't it?
Yeah,
Like you went
yeah,
from having to make a list, export the pocket query, or even set up the pocket query to load them all onto the
yeah,
GPS unit. Um, and now it's all just straight on the phone. You just make a
yeah,
list. You can
yeah.
even save it to an offline list now.
And I still use offline lists because you can never trust
Oh,
that the mobile network is going to work when you're caching.
absolutely. I do the same thing.
And what if the website goes down?
That's it.
I'll
Yes.
be stuck at home for days.
Staring at the computer.
Yeah, yeah.
No
No,
fun
so
there.
mm, that's uh, yeah. Technology has really, and I found these days I just mostly use the phone because it's just so
That's right.
easy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, have you found that has made the game more enjoyable for you?
Mm. I mean, it's good not to carry around that many things, and it's just
Yes,
easier to do your logs when you have your phones and your notes in the same place.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
That's
you can log it at the cache now, you know?
you can and you get your pictures there, and
Mm.
so I think logs have improved in quality,
Yes.
maybe, but of
Mhm.
course,
Well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that because I know that back in the day, sort of 10, 15 years ago, people used to actually write, you know, hi, my name is, Ricard, and I found this today. I walked to 5 kilometers with, two friends, and, we never been to this place before. And they'd actually write that on the log. Whereas now you just write your caching name.
yeah, we did write stories in the logs and back in the
Yeah.
day, and that was good to read. And I mean, if you're looking for
Yes.
the old caches anywhere in the world, you can still find that. If
Yes.
that you have the original log and people are telling a story.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I think many of us back in the day would log on the physical cache with a good log, and then it was just very brief online.
Right, that's it. Yeah.
So I think the online logs have, in general, improved since then.
Yeah, in general, I'd say they've gotten better.
But of course, there's so many more people logging now, so you can scroll through and find the longer logs that have the contents that you want.
That's right, yeah. And then you've got the photos where you can go through and you can see. Sometimes they could be a reference point for you finding the cache.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, so that's. I think it's overall it's been good for the game.
Yes, yeah, and technology improvements are improvements.
Yeah. Yep.
Actually making the game easier to play, making it better, getting new caches into the game.
Yeah,
accessible.
exactly. Because the threshold when I started was very high. Just to admit
Yes.
that. I had to admit that it was. If you weren't computer literate, you couldn't make it.
That's right. Yeah.
And I mean, and of course, when the pocket queries came on and the GPSs came, that you could load the pocket queries on. It was great. And then came the GPSs that had offline caching. Fantastic. But from there to the smartphone is still a giant step forward.
Giant step. Well, that's right. And like you had to have that knowledge. One, you had to know how to use a computer. Then you had to know how to use the pocket queries and the GPS unit. So, and then you had to have the money to afford that technology to play the game. And then now it's just on your phone and it's a free app. Anyone can download it and play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. Made it more accessible for everybody. It's been wonderful. All right. Well, was there anything else that you would like to add for this evening's chat?
No, I think that's really good. If you want to send me the thing, I can see if I can dig out a few pictures to illustrate things.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. Yeah, from the stories we've talked about, that'd be great.
Yeah, and I mean maybe even things that we haven't talked about. If there is a cache that I've hidden that I'm proud of, in one way or another, you could just drop that in instead of me for a while on the thing.
Yeah, well, what I do is I publish them to the website and I do a bit of a blog. So I could have, Carragher's highlighted geocache and I could put the GZ coords in there and a little write-up picture.
Yeah. As I said, many of them are adopted out now, but they're still mine in a way.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Let's just do a quick little sign-off and then I've just actually got a question to ask you about adopted caches.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I'm just going to do a little sign off. Well, thank you very much tonight, Karicka, for joining us. It's been really, really interesting to hear the changes over time to geocaching and your experiences with the game and everything. So thank you very much for joining me this evening.
Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. And I just wanted to ask one last, do you have a message for new geocachers or current geocachers or anyone interested in getting into geocaching that you could share with us all?
I'd say remember that it's about the friendships that you make. That's the most important thing. And that if we're playing a game, you don't get too serious about it. Make sure that you're having fun and that you're making sure that everybody else has an opportunity to have fun as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for those words. And once again, have a lovely night. And thank you very much for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you so much. It was great to be here.
Just what you might find geocaching down